So I'm back from vacation feeling pretty well rested. But while I was on vacation, I got an email that I didn't take the way I thought I would. So I got my email from TCAF being told that I've been waitlisted. Another year, another rejection from TCAF. Out of the 3 years that I've been applying, I have success rate of 33%. I got in the one time when they really expanded to the new location. And this is actually kind of typical, as you usually don't get into TCAF every year anyway. They tend to do a one on, one off. Even though I half expected it when I applied, getting that email this year felt a little bit different. In past years, I'd be a little more upset about it, even though I knew that rejection is part of the game and you can almost count on it. But I would still be a little upset, hoping that I was making some progress. And this year, I don't know. I just didn't feel as upset about it. If you saw my post at the beginning of the year, you know that I was planning on cutting back on tabling, and this kind of just solidified that. I took the choice out of my hands. I'm going to be cutting back on tabling. I'm not going to TCAF this year. Of course, unless I get selected off the wait list. But at this point, I don't think I would accept the invitation because it did solidify something in my mind that I don't need to be tabling to make a name for myself anymore. And it showed me that rejection isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it just helps you get clarity on what your path is. Tabling has been a great experience in some ways and less so in others. Chasing table has always been stressful. Trying to sell individual copies of books for $5, $10 a pop has been very difficult to try to make back the $300, $400, $500 for the table. So the whole weekend, instead of enjoying myself and getting to meet people and doing all that stuff, I always have this thought in the back of my mind that this is a loss leader. I'm losing money in order to make myself available to the handful of people in Toronto that care to see me. So although I will do it here and there, I'm definitely deprioritizing tabling as much as possible. So much so that I found that rejection goes both ways. I was accepted to both Brantford Comic Con and the East Coast Comic Con this year, and I've had to reject both, unfortunately, even after applying, which I feel kind of silly about, and I hope I haven't burnt a bridge in doing so. But it turns out I've just become way too busy with all the things happening now with the direct market and trying to get books into stores. So taking away the time I need to focus on that to hand sell books over a weekend and try to make table back, I just didn't feel like it made a lot of business sense or even logical sense to a degree. If the plan is to sell en masse to everyone all over the world, just selling it in a localized area, it just didn't feel like something that was going to get me where I need to be. That said, one thing I've always enjoyed about going to conventions is the connections that you make, both with the fans and people that come up to the table and you get to talk to them and get to learn people that enjoy your books, things that they've enjoyed about your books and all that kind of stuff. But then also talking with other creators, that's probably been the biggest thing. I've made so many connections just by tabling at conventions and getting to talk to people for an extended period of time rather than just 4 or 5 minutes when they're trying to make a sale at their table. Those connections I wouldn't be able to make just as an attendee. However, now I know most of the people that I would be tabling around, which is good in a way, and it's fun to hang out with folks. But at the same time, I can do that without being tethered to a table for an entire weekend. I can go to these conventions and I know a lot of people. I can shake hands and I can have chats with them and I can do all that and not be forced to try to sell all weekend. Another thing I've been trying to do with a friend of mine, Steve Bynow, somebody that I made friends with at TCAF. We knew each other well before then, but TCAF was our chance to really spend the day together and get to know each other. And one thing we want to do is do exactly that, is have a place for creators to hang out without the pressure to sell. So hopefully we can get that together. It's something I've actually, like most things, fallen behind on because I'm too focused on the direct market right now. But that's something I hope in the summer we'll be able to sort out, have kind of a group connection thing that we can all just talk and just hang out and share strategies and things we've learned, secrets about the whole market and trying to make it, especially here specifically in Toronto and all that. And I think that might be something that I'd be leaning more towards and something that I want to help build in this area, rather than just do conventions or just have a sales focused meeting every time. So I'm really hoping that we can get that together. It's something I haven't been putting enough time into, but it's something I really am interested in. And if you are a creator in the Toronto area, please reach out. There's a Facebook group. It's the very nascent starting of this whole thing, but we can get you in the Facebook group and then we can start talking about how we're going to actually have these in-person get-togethers and really start talking shop together, which is something that's honestly, it's well overdue. So it's not the only time I've faced rejection in the past couple months. Things have been very good. 2026 has been very, very good to me, both with the big announcement with Prana and getting books into the direct market and the feedback I've gotten on that. how well Snip has done on Kickstarter. By the way, there's just a day left to support that if you're interested in backing that book, but that's done as well as any of my other books, which is very comforting to know that I could put something brand new out and I'm going to have fans that show up for it. So that's been really good. And doing the Pesto Comics Roadshow. So if you follow me on socials, you know I've been going to stores across Ontario and trying to hand sell the book that way. I'm telling them order it in the catalog, but I'm giving them posters and trading cards and all these things to really help people be driven to their shops. I want to show that I'm not here to just make me money. I'm here to make them money. I want to sell the book by sending them to their stores. So here's hoping that that pays off and that works. But I will say that the odd time I've felt the soft rejection. There's been a couple of stores, like we're talking 5% of the stores I've been to. Nobody's been outright rude. Nobody said they're not interested, but you can tell they're being very polite about the whole pitch I'm giving them. And I understand that some stores just aren't interested in indie books. So they want the proven thing. I know that me walking in saying, hey, this is my first book that's going to be in stores doesn't really bode well. Even if I tell them, yeah, it's a huge success on Kickstarter, that means nothing to them, right? Because they're not making sales on Kickstarter. So I totally get it. They've all been very polite. I will say that. Like nobody's been rude or anything like that. It's something you have to have a thick skin for, just sales in general. You have to have a thick skin. So I used to do a job with my cousin where we'd seal driveways in the suburbs. And that involved door-to-door sales. I'd wear my high visibility vest and I'd knock door to door to door to door through all the neighborhoods I can reach every weekend, and had doors slammed in my face. I got yelled at quite a bit, and that was just part of the game. And that was just one of the similar jobs I've had. When I was a kid, when I was about 11 or 12, I used to deliver the newspaper. But the newspaper that I delivered, the Toronto Sun, also used to do collections. So thinking back now, it's crazy, but it was $7 a month in order for you to get the paper to your door. The way they collected that was cash. So they would have me go to all these stores and collect the $7 from every subscriber. And you would be shocked the amount of people who just refused to answer the door. And, you know, I'm an 11-year-old kid. What am I going to do? But still, a very early lesson in rejection and dealing with even grumpy and angry people, having a soft rejection saying, hey, like you're still on the list. We're still thinking about you. You're waitlisted. Not the biggest rejection I've ever faced. One thing I do know for sure is I've always had a little bit of a hard time breaking in here in Toronto. And that's something, again, talking with folks who do things similar to me, like the guys at Comics Asylum, we've seen the same thing where Toronto's a lot more of a art house comic style place. Like drawn in quarterly is a big deal here. Fantagraphics, big deal. Like autobio seems to be the way to go if you really want to break in here and really get some attention. And that's not what I do. I do pulp comics. I do comics that try to be as mainstream as possible. I'm talking about a pro wrestling vampire comic. That is my first comic into the direct market. The one following that is the one on Kickstarter right now. It's Snip. It's a time traveling sci-fi book. So I really do try to paint a bit of a broad brush, not because I'm trying to be everything for everybody. It's just what I enjoy. I enjoy the MCU movies, not all of them, but you know, I was in line on opening day for most of those and I checked them out, and same with all the DC stuff. I consider myself a DC guy, but you know, I loved Superman. I was there on the first day as well. So art house stuff, although I do have a couple ideas for that too. I have my own autobio comic I've been working on. I have no timeline for that, no real plans to get it out because it's not my priority. My priority is the mainstream stuff. So knowing that, I understand why maybe I don't fit in with the TCAF crowd, and I'm okay with that. My plan is to get books that make sense on the shelf next to Batman and next to Spider-Man. I'm not writing superhero comics, but it's in the same vein. It's meant to be fun, meant to be escapism, while still having a message hidden behind it. But really, it's just meant to be something that's enjoyable. So the way I look at it is, I'm not upset that I'm not getting called up to the team. If I were some kind of elite hockey player, I wouldn't expect to get called up to the Blue Jays because I'm so good at hockey. The two things don't go together. Yeah, we're both playing sports, but we're not playing the same sport. And that's kind of how I feel the whole things are going in Toronto with the kind of comics I'm making. So I don't feel too bad about it. I'm finding success in the right places. I've said it time and time again. Most of my comics are sold in the US. Most of them cross the border. I do appreciate the folks that support me in Toronto, but it just kind of solidifies the point that maybe I don't need to put so much focus on tabling here if most of my customers are south of the border for me. So being waitlisted, just a confirmation of all of that. All that said, it doesn't mean I'm not going to do conventions. I went to New York last year, had a great time. I'll be in San Diego this year with a pro badge. And that kind of makes my point. I'm not good enough to get a table here at TCAF, but I'm considered a pro in San Diego, which is the mainstream convention. That's kind of where I want it to be anyway. I want to be with the mainstream. I want to be with the folks who are getting books on shelves and in as many hands as possible. So I could dwell on this negative of getting waitlisted and not getting accepted by my peers in my hometown, but I still think I'm making a lot of progress. I know that the fans and the friends that I've made here are all very proud of everything that's happening with Prana and getting books in the stores and talking to people in shops. They're all very excited to have a local creator making this mainstream content that belongs on some shelves. So I'm very happy to fit in that box, even if it doesn't quite fit in the box that would make sense at TCAF. So I'm taking this all as a positive development. Yes, a little bit of spin from me. Yes, it's always nice to be accepted, even if in the end I may have rejected the call anyway. But I do think that this is all a good thing. This just solidifies where I should focus, where I should spend my time, and what's going to be best for Pesto Comics and getting all the stories and the art and the work that we're doing out to as many people as possible. I don't necessarily need to be worrying about being tethered to a table and trying to sell one book at a time. My goal is trying to get books into stores so I can get it to as many people as humanly possible. So with that, I want to thank you for being here. And before I go, I got 2 reminders. The campaign for Snip ends tomorrow at 10:15 Eastern Daylight Time. I don't know why I picked that time. I think it was a mistake, but it ends tomorrow morning. So make sure that you check that out before that ends. If you want to get the exclusive covers and everything that comes with that and get the book before anybody gets to read it or it ever hits the direct market this fall, this is the way to get your hands on the first 2 issues. And then, of course, the FOC for From Parts Unknown #1 in stores is March 30th. We need #1 to do as well as possible. There's always a drop off. We're talking 40 to 60% from whatever you sell of issue 1. You get a 40 to 60% drop off on issue 2. So very important that issue 1 does as well as possible so that that 50% drop still gets us to a point that the book is profitable. Full disclosure, to hit printing thresholds, we need to sell at least 1,000 copies. And I'm not worried about selling 1,000 copies of issue 1. I think we'll clear that easily, especially with some of the bundles that we've provided retailers. My concern is issue 2. We need to clear 1,000 issues at a minimum. That's like the worst case scenario. And with 2,700 shops just in North America, if everybody orders 1, we're well past that target. So I think we'll be okay. Based on the feedback I've been getting visiting shops, I really do think that we'll be more than okay. We'll be in a profitable state. But the only way we can guarantee that is if you go to your shop and you tell them that you want From Parts Unknown #1. It's $5. You're going to get a book that is much improved from the Kickstarter version that came out in 2024. So I highly recommend checking that out because I've learned a lot. I've got a couple new people on the team, primarily in terms of production design and getting things up to a professional looking level. And it's something that we'll be carrying through even on the Kickstarter campaigns. So you'll see that with Snip that it's a little bit higher end than some of the books that I've been putting out. Although I'm proud of everything I've put out thus far, there's definitely an extra level and you get someone who's been doing it for a really long time to help you out. With all that, I want to thank you. We'll talk again next week about going to all these stores and all the fun I've been having going all over North America. If you're looking at the socials, I got a cool surprise coming in the next day or 2, but we'll talk about all that next week. So right now, I want to thank you for being here. Have a good one. Talk to you then.